is time. Could we please share my screen, brother? Because it's time for This Week in Doom. And it was a particularly doomy week for data on the economy and in particular labor market data in the economy. But let's start with the Institute for Supply Management, who came out with the ISM manufacturing PMI. That was first thing Tuesday morning on the short week. The ISM PMI for manufacturing came in at 47.2. That is up slightly from 46.8, but still anything below 50 is a decline in manufacturing activity. So that marks 21 out of the last 22 months where manufacturing activity in the United States has declined. New orders, production, backlogs, and employment all fell. But on the bright side, production costs rose at a faster rate. Oh, wait, that's not a bright side. That's actually kind of stagflationary, isn't it? Never mind, the whole ISM manufacturing PMI was just terrible once again. And then 2 days later on Thursday, we got the ISM services PMI, the other half of the economy. That was pretty much better than the manufacturing one. Came in at 51.5, up slightly from 51.4. So services activity is expanding ever so slightly. New orders and production rose. Employment rose just barely. That's after falling for 5 consecutive months. Backlogs fell sharply. And once again, the price gauge rose sharply. So both ISM PMIs are showing some inflationary pressure this week. Then on Wednesday, we got the JOLTS report, or the Job Openings and Labor Turnover Survey. And job openings in the United States fell sharply by 237,000 to 7.673 million for the month of July. That's versus expectations of 8.1 million. So a big miss there by more than 500,000 job openings. Job openings in the United States have been in decline ever since the Fed began their tightening cycle in March of 2022. Then on Friday, we got the big data point for the week, the non-farm payrolls report, otherwise known as the jobs report. The U.S. economy added 142,000 jobs for the month of August. That is versus expectations of an addition of 160,000. So another big miss on the jobs report. But most notably, the jobs report from July was revised downward by 25,000 to just 89,000 from the initially reported 114,000. And you may recall that jobs report from July was enough to send the market into a tailspin, resulting in that big sell-off on Monday, August 5th. Well, that report got even worse. And then we've got June is saying, wait, hold my beer, because that one was revised lower by 61,000 to 118,000. So the combined downward revisions, 86,000 downward revisions to the 2 prior months. And when you subtract that from the 142,000 added, we had just a net addition of 56,000 jobs for the month of August. It was a terrible jobs report. Nonetheless, unemployment edged slightly lower to 4.2% from 4.3%, although the U6 unemployment rate edged higher to 7.9%. U6 captures people who are marginally attached to the workforce and people who are working part-time for economic reasons. Moving on to Thursday, we got news from OPEC that they announced they're going to delay the much anticipated oil production increase that was scheduled to happen next month. They were going to raise oil production by 180,000 barrels per day. They decided at the last minute to delay that by 2 months. And that is interesting because there has been significant oil supply disruption in the world in recent months. Almost 1 million barrels a day of production in Libya has been taken offline by a spat over who controls the central bank in that country. So even though we've had big time production shortfalls from other countries, OPEC is going to delay the production increase, and oil prices still close the week in the high 60s, down significantly once again this week. And so the global oil market is telling us here, big time world recession is on the way, because despite this limited supply, prices just keep falling. And then we got news on Tuesday from Nvidia that the company had been subpoenaed by the Department of Justice. And then, of course, a day later, Nvidia denied that they had been subpoenaed by the DOJ. And so what happened, it seems it really boils down to an argument over a nuance. What Nvidia really received was a civil investigative demand, which, although commonly referred to as a subpoena, is not technically a subpoena. And so if you want to be an imbecile or an a-hole and split hairs over definitions, no, Nvidia wasn't subpoenaed. But I would add that failure to respond to a civil investigative demand is punishable under the law. So it's basically a subpoena. It was a silly story. The antitrust regulators are closing in on Nvidia over anti-competitive business practices, aggressive pricing models that penalize people who don't agree to buy exclusively from Nvidia, as well as questions around the acquisition of Israeli company Run AI. Then on Friday, we had California Governor Gavin Newsom vetoed a controversial bill that would have given $150,000 in California state government-backed loans to illegal immigrants for down payment assistance on buying a home. This bill had gotten a lot of attention nationally, and a lot of people were surprised by Newsom's veto. Now, he vetoed it citing budgetary pressures and that there wasn't enough money in the state budget to fund this. Not something that has historically stopped California from doing much of anything. And people are saying the veto of this bill may indicate that Newsom still has presidential ambitions. And last but not least, we got this news. This was a big one this week. Russia Today employees, two Russia Today employees, Konstantin Kalishnikov and Elena Afantseva, something Russian that I can't pronounce. They were discovered in a DOJ indictment that they had funneled more than $10 million to a Tennessee company, Tenet Media, in order to pay right-wing influencers for content that appears to have been very favorable to Russian influencers, notably around coverage of the war in Ukraine. That money went to right-wing influencers such as Laura Southern, Tim Pool, Taylor Hansen, Matt Christensen, Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, and 6 others who are not named in the indictment, although it's worth pointing out that in that indictment, none of those influencers were aware of the origins of the money. But still, you've got Russian state media, RT, is paying money to right-wing influencers in the United States in order to influence coverage of issues that will weigh on the presidential election. And of course, the FBI sent a strongly worded letter to the Russian government saying, hey, no meddling in our elections. That's our job. And such ends this week in Doom. Back to you, Travis.
Okay, first question, real quick. Do y'all think, I didn't get no 10 million. Do y'all think that, like, those influencers knew about the corruption? Do you think that they were corrupt, or do you think that they were kind of just like innocent, kind of just sucked into the scheme?
I think they probably didn't know. The indictment actually specifically mentioned that influencer 1, 2, and 3. It didn't specifically say who they were. That 1, 2, and 3 were unaware of it. And of course, all of them have released statements since saying they had no idea where the money had come from. The media coverage is suggesting that these influencers are victims in this scam, or at least that's the language that's being used in the media.
And what do you think?
What do I think? It's tempting. People put money in front of you all the time when you're an influencer, right? I mean, I get offers all the time from Chinese companies, crypto pump and dumps. Right? I mean, I turn them all down, but the temptation is there. People offer you millions of dollars to make content. The temptation is to take it. So, would I put it past them? No, but there's no evidence that says they knew where it was coming from.
And Melody, if you want to give him a question, and Kenny's here. I want to get Kenny on, but I want to get rid of these comments, not get rid of them, but there's some really good comments I want to throw up. But do you have anything, Jack?
No, let's do it. Let's throw up some comments real quick.
All right. I'm going to throw up these comments, and I'm just going to blast these up here, and then you guys just kind of, chew them up, spit them out. From RRR, we always appreciate you. I see you all around YouTube, RR. I see you out there, man, on other people's channel. I may not say anything, but he says, friends don't let friends not know who the Federal Reserve is. You guys are my friends. Thank you for turning my life upside down and opening my eyes. That was nice. No, I'm kidding. That's step one. You got to be aware. But seriously, my gosh, man, it took me a year, Melody. I'm still not fully grasping the evilness there. But anyways, another good comment. Central banks behind Federal Reserve. Oh, Melody. And the bloodlines are behind the central banks. All about the bloodlines. You wanna comment on that, Melody? Because Central Park changed my life.
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Let's keep going. Big shout out to Michael. I just did a podcast with Michael. I need to get Melody a coffee and a Mike mug.
Yes.
All the love for Melody. Me and Jack. Jack, you're second. I'm like the last one to get the love.
I got to put a note, like advertise here on the mug, man.
Right.
I got a dad mug. This is the best mug ever. So my kids.
That's cool. That's so cute.
Anyways,
and your kids are adorable. So
Thank you. Yeah, I don't, okay. All right. So from AG, you guys have been worried about inflation. I've been trying to tell you we are headed to a horrific deflationary depression. I thought that was a very strong comment. Not sure.
Can I take a second on this one?
Yeah,
That's an
take that
excellent
one.
comment, AG. And I agree. If nobody messes with anything, we will have a severely deflationary depression. If nobody messes with anything, that's a very big if. They never don't mess with it. So I do think you're right about that, but that requires the Fed to do nothing. And the Fed will blink the second things get tough. It's just my opinion there, but history supports that, I think.
Yeah, it's also history. And from Mud Sneakers, DNN will be covering the loss of the coming casinos in the coming years due to going cashless. I'm doomed. Michael responded to that. How will cashless lay off casino workers? People will still gamble. I hope not. I hope people will start saving, which usually happens during a recession. There's a massive $1 trillion black hole inside the federal budget. That's where the money is going. And not to mention unfunded liabilities. Not sure if you guys wanted to mention any of those comments, but if not, I'll bring Kenny in when you're ready.